Welcome back to Headbangers Ball, coming to you, of course, from Stockholm in Sweden with our very special guest, Extreme. And we've actually moved inside now because it was getting pretty cold out there, bracing.
You could say that.
Now, we just saw Aerosmith there, actually, and a lot of people talk about this funk metal thing, but in a lot of ways I think that funk is more of the kind of groove and vibe of a band like Aerosmith. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only kind of funk, or whatever you want to call it. Just I think the shake your butt, they call it funk nowadays. You know what I mean? And I mean, what Gary always used to say, it's like the funk that we're influenced from it just moves. It's from Aerosmith. Zeppelin was funky at times. Halen was moved a lot. It doesn't mean that a lot of the new bands think that you get a slap bass player in the band and we're now a funk band. And we're not a funk band, we're a rock band. We just we like to move as opposed to sit there and.
I just wish people, yeah, I know what you mean. I wish people wouldn't try and categorize music, because to my mind there's two kinds of music, good and bad.
You got it.
Right.
We shouldn't have, looks like we're talking about more than words and everything else. You shouldn't try to put us in these boxes, because all these bands that we're talking about, the ones that say, that 3 records and no ballad, blah, 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 are just fooling themselves. Everybody has the sides, more than words to them. They're just afraid to show them, we're what we were.
Again, I think this band will stand the test of time as far as labeling. We were a new band, and we've been labeled the Everly Brothers because of More Than Words. We've been labeled the funk metal thing because they get the funk out. And I think those labels will fall, where this band will continue on playing rock music.
It's just meant to be enjoyed. It's music. Stop trying to analyze it. If you love it, you love it. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. But people are making it a music Olympics. You know what I mean? It's like award shows. I mean. I think you'll see Extreme at award shows, and if we get our awards enough, but to actually be in a category with Guns N' Roses or Aerosmith, and try telling anybody who's the best out of that, you know what I mean? That's ridiculous. It's music. It's all about taste. So.
That's a very good point. Absolutely. Now, actually, just before the break, there we were talking about how important your fans are to you. The bigger the band gets, is it more difficult to keep in touch with your fans? Maybe we could bring Pat in here. Hello.
We have Pat Badger here.
Yes, this is Pat. I was just wondering, the bigger the band gets, is it more difficult to keep in touch with your fans?
With our fans? Well, yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on the size place you play, because the most times we really meet fans are at our gigs, so some of the shows, if we're playing in arenas and now, we really don't get exposed to the fans, whereas some of the clubs we're still playing, we meet them, at an after-show meet and greets and outside
do you read letters and stuff?
So, yeah, sure, we read letters.
But that's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right when they said that the band gets bigger. It seems like they can't talk to someone. It's going to get to a point where, yes, when we leave a show, it's going to be hard to stand outside and do 100 autographs when you just can't. You got to travel. You got to do it. So you're right. It's not about egos. It's about the bigger we get, the less we can be intimate.
Yeah, like I said, like I was saying outside, this band makes a point to. I know Paul, for instance, writes back. Some of the fan letters. I personally, if there's a phone number, I'll pick up the phone and call them, and then I spend half the time telling them it's me.
Convincing them it's actually you, right?
They don't think it is me. But we try to make it a point to see them, because we're still rock fans, and the people that we've met, Steve Tyler and Brian May, it was important for us that they were nice to us. You know what I mean? Because we're still rock fans. So we look at it that way. You have to treat the fans just like you'd want to be treated,
Absolutely.
Some of the bands you like.
Well, we're going to give you a chance to get intimate with your fans now, because we've been asking you guys out there in Europe to write in with your questions for Extreme, and we have one now. It comes from Danny Asmus from Berlin, and Danny would like to know, this is for Nuno, is it true that you wrote and produced songs with Steve Perry, and was it for a new Steve Perry solo album or for a new Journey album? Interesting question.
Yeah, it's like yes and no. I mean, he's been working with him as far as writing stuff. Also with Gary, and Gary have been working with Steve, and I can call him Steve now. He's a good friend now. No, the whole band idolized that guy, and the band Journey, and it was a thrill to even for him to meet him. Never mind working with him. I mean, half the time when he started singing, we'd begin to like we were like 11 years old and just melting, So yeah, we're just writing some stuff with him. Definitely not producing anything with him. I think he's gonna, and it's a solo record.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay, well, thanks, Danny, very much for that question. And coming up now, we've got your current video. And actually, stay tuned as the Headbangers Ball continues. We'll have more viewers' questions, but right now we've got
Wholehearted, I believe. See ya.
Okay, Headbangers Ball is back, coming to you from Stockholm in Sweden, and I'm the lucky girl that is surrounded by Extreme. Now, guys, I was just wondering how much have your personal lives changed since you've become really famous over the last year or so?
Well, as far as our personal lives, they have. Hey, I'm getting intimidated here. You know, people say, you know, with fame and fortune, though, I think we've had a little bit more fame than fortune, that artists change. I really don't think that it's the artists that change. I think it's a lot of the people and the acquaintances around you change. They start looking at you differently. And as far as differences, you might not be able to go out and, you know, shop or whatever you want to do out in public a little more because you get noticed. But actually, right now, it hasn't become a hindrance. It's more enjoyable to be recognized as Extreme, one of the guys in Extreme. But we haven't changed. My mother still doesn't like me. She never did. And, no, she still likes me, yeah.
Actually, I'll direct this next question to Paul, who's got this nice microphone there. Paul, you've been touring as a band now for like 14 months, and I guess that's a pretty unreal way of living. I mean, it's like, it's not like getting up and going to work 9 to 5 or whatever. How do you manage to keep your feet on the ground, really?
Well, we asked for it. We got it. That's why we do it, so we don't have to go 9 to 5 every day, you know?
I know, but it's what I'm trying to say. It's an unreal environment. Yeah. Everything's laid on for you. You're traveling so much.
Well, those are the real difficulties, is that you don't get to spend time with the people at home, you know, your parents and your friends and everyone. And, you know, but we have such a bond together and with our crew that we have a lot of fun out on the road. And it's tough living out of a bag instead of having a real home, you know, to live in. But, you know, we do it just to play. You know, that's what we're here to do, to play to new fans.
I'm sure we'd be complaining if we weren't doing it,
yeah.
You know.
Also, you know, it hasn't been like 14 months of the same old thing. I mean, each month it's gotten better and better, and as the record grew, and then it was like at bigger places, so it's grown throughout the whole time, so it's always...
And also we've got to see a lot of the part of the world out here that we would have never got to see probably if we didn't make records and tour around, so it's a great experience anyway.
Now, as I said, you have been on the road, hello Nuno, for 14 months, and I'm quite surprised to learn that you've actually written and demoed the next album, and I think Nuno's got some exclusive information for us all about it.
Yeah, I guess I'll be the spokesman for that, since it's it's pretty much you know, as far as the new record goes, it's if you listen to Porn Graffiti, you know, it goes through a lot of different, you know, emotions and moods and vibes, and you know, from more than words stuck in little places. But this time we're gonna focus on a three-sided story kind of thing, where the first side is going to be all the heavier stuff and the rockier stuff, and the second side is going to be, you know, ballads and a lot of the darker kind of mood pieces, and the third side is like what I think we're Extreme is stretching a little bit, you know, for this next record, where we're going to do probably like a 20-minute kind of epic song, you know, 20 minutes long, where it's going to grow very acoustically, and then it's going to, you know, bring electric guitars in with the band, and in the end it's going to be with a full symphony. So it's really going to be wild. It's going to be interesting. We're excited.
Have you got a title for it yet?
I'm not telling.
And you're trying out a couple of those songs out on the road, aren't you?
Yeah, we've taken advantage of the sound checks on this tour, and while we were writing, we were working them in with the band, and now, like Porn Graffiti on our first tour, we tried all those new songs like More Than Words at the time, and you know, some of the songs on that record. We're taking advantage and feeling it out with the audience and seeing what works and seeing how we play it, because I think the success of Porn Graffiti was partly the fact that it was so second nature for us to do. It wasn't like going in the studio and writing songs. There were songs we've been doing, so that's what we're trying to do for the next record.
Okay. Well, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I said boom. That's one thing.
Boom. Okay, well, we're going to talk some more in a little while, but right now we have some more music coming up for you on this special edition of Headbangers Ball from Sweden. That was King of the Hill with If I Say, and we're back with Extreme now. We're actually in our cafe.
Still?
Gary's still here with me, and I just wanted to ask you, what do you think of King of the Hill? Are you getting on well with them?
Great. They're really funny guys. We actually look forward to this tour because we knew them before in the States, and we always talked about a package, and we were friends before, said this was a great opportunity to get to know each other, and Nuno sneaking in, Pat sneaking up on
He's sneaking in there.
But they're a great band, and that's a great video.
It is, if I say. Excellent video. Do you always remember back to the times when you were a support band, and it's a completely different deal being out on tour? I mean, it's not that long ago, is it?
Yeah, less than a month ago.
Boy, I hate it. No, I mean, it's fun with the bands you're playing with, but Extreme loves to play live, and when we get cut down to like a 40-minute set, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's like cutting our legs up. No, because we want to give so much to the crowd, especially a lot of it's first impression, especially when you open up for ZZ Top. It's such a ZZ crowd, and you want to give them so many sides, and we got to do it like a small package, you know.
But I think an example, like ZZ, they treated us great, and we always said that once we're at this point, this first time we're headlining in Europe, that we would, treat the bands that we play with the same way. And if you ask them, they'd probably say the same thing. I think that we treated them pretty good because they're good guys.
Okay, well, we are dedicating the whole of the rest of Headbangers Ball to you guys.
Right.
So I think Gary's got details of what's coming up.
Details, obviously more rock and roll, some great music, and I think we're going to have a chance to answer some more mail.
Yeah, as the Headbangers Ball from Sweden continues. Stick around. Vanessa Warwick and the guys from Extreme with you on this extremely special edition of Headbangers Ball, coming to you from Stockholm in Sweden. Now guys, you've been out touring for a long time, and obviously it's probably broadened your mind as people, but I just wondered, do you think that that's going to have like a knock-on effect for songwriting in the future? I mean, any influences? Or?
I think the biggest... He's intimidating me with that big mic again. Probably the biggest effect on our songwriting is probably taking advantage of watching CNN, and that seems
it's
to
so
be
violent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reality is so violent these days.
Yeah, and I think we touched on some of the subjects that are very topical at the time with the next record. And obviously when you're introduced to different cultures and obviously different countries, you can't believe, when we're in the States, the size of the States, from the distance from LA to Boston, there's not that much difference other than the way people talk, but the distance between that over in Europe is amazing. Different cultures and different times.
Yeah, different way of life as well, isn't it?
It's pretty incredible. We are what we eat, and now that we've had a piece of the world, you'll see that coming out of this band.
Excellent. Well, it's time for some more questions from viewers. And Sandra from Ealing in London wrote in. Thanks for your letter, Sandra. And she has got about 15 questions, and they're all for Nuno.
Nice.
Which is nice, and actually some of them are very good, so if you guys will excuse me, I'm just going to ask Nuno a couple of questions. How did it feel for you to be chosen to play at the Guitar Legends Festival in Seville?
It was nice to be asked to do that, but I don't really think I really belong there yet. I mean, I think to be called any kind of legend, I think I was just there because I had to fill some space that Jimmy Page didn't show up, and a lot of people that should have been there, like the Gilmores and all those guys that. And Eddie Van Halen, a lot of those guys that are real legends, that it takes at least, I'd say, a good decade to be considered any kind of legend. But I'll take it. It was fun to be there and play and perform with, to look over to your right and see Joe Walsh. And personally, I was more nervous that Rick Wakeman was behind me. That's what I was nervous about. And he had, Steve Vai, Satriani, and Brian May. It's one of those things where it was a dream sequence of our tour. We flew in a jet. Me and Gary went down, and we just did this thing that day and left. And it really. It was too much to comprehend in that amount of time, so we just kind of didn't talk about it or couldn't really explain it. There's no word to explain what happened there,
It must have been fantastic.
Oh, it was out of hand. So.
And actually, you've always said that Queen are one of your main influences. So you all met Brian May, did you?
Oh yeah.
Is he kind of a good friend now?
We kind of have a good story to go with it. Nuno met him, I think, probably a half a year before that, doing an interview, but we got a chance. In London to meet him. He came down after the Spain thing, and we decided to invite him on our stage. So we got to do a Queen song. We were all coming out of our skin because of Queen and Brian, and we just had a great time. Yeah, we do consider him a new friend. And the best part about him
He's very humble and nice guy, you know, so he really got to be our friend in actually a day. So, you know, he has no ego trip, and he was actually kind of shying away from coming on stage with us. He thought, you know, he was invading our space, and he didn't realize what it really meant to us, you know, so it was a lot of fun that night.
And we'd like to extend the invitation to Roger, John, and Freddie as well to come down.
And in fact, Sandra would also like to know who else is there that you guys would like to meet. Is there anybody left?
I don't know, I already met David Lee Roth, so that was big. I'd like to meet the rest of Van Halen now, so I'm a big Van Halen fan.
I think maybe the Stones and Bowie, just met Alice Cooper. They're all slowly meeting all my heroes, so I'm very happy at the pace, so I'm sure we'll get to meet them.
With these guys, I mean, we pretty much mentioned, we're calling this the legend story, because we're meeting so many people. I mean, you know, between ZZ Top and working with Steve Perry and Brian May, you know, it's too many things, you know, too much information. We got to wait till we get home. You know, we get home and
digest it all.
It's going to be hard to even look on the wall and maybe see if, you know, platinum with your name on it. First, you got to take that in when you get home at Christmas. Then you got to think you recap the whole year, and all these people that you're meeting, it's just, you got to take some kind of pill. Anybody got anything? I don't know what.
Actually, Queensryche said something really good to me, and that's when they're out on tour, they're like sponges and they absorb everything, and then they go home and they think about it, and then it all comes out in the songs.
Yeah, I think it happens so quick. Like Nuno was saying, you really don't comprehend it until you're home, you know. So
you just don't know what it is, and then you realize when you see a Queen video or something, it's just like, you become a kid again. We know him, we're with him, we played with him. And even though they become your friends, and it just, I don't want him to be my friend, you know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to not look up to him.
Okay, and Sandra would also like to know, do you speak Portuguese?
De vez em quando, ainda falo muito bem português agora, mas quando estou em casa e falo com a minha mãe, a minha família, mas mais ou menos.
We even learned a few words like papel higiénico, sange de queijo, you know.
Yeah, that's the essentials, toilet paper, cheese sandwich, in case you're stranded in Portugal.
Coca-Cola is universal, so we know
Would you say something to Sandra, especially to her out there in London?
I'm trying to think of something to Sandra. A gente estamos muito contentes de voltar para a Inglaterra para tocar para ti outra vez. I'm not going to tell you what I said.
Oh, that sounds...
Between me and her.
That's really romantic. It's a really romantic language, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, there you go, Sandra. And everybody else, you stay tuned because we've got more music coming up right now, but the Headbangers Ball will continue with more from Extreme after these videos.
Yo, this is Nuno. We're back here. We're all with Extreme, and we have a special guest. The woman, the myth, the legend, Vanessa.
Thank you very much. Now, actually, we've got some more viewers' questions coming up, and these next set of questions come from Bianca from Belgium, and she would like to ask Nuno something first. She says she started to play the guitar recently, and she's thinking about buying a Washburn N4, which is the guitar that you endorse, isn't it? She would like to know, do you recommend this guitar to a beginner?
You know what, the thing you'd probably want to do as far as a beginning guitar is probably start on an acoustic, because it makes you work a little harder, it gets your hands in shape, and it's easier to learn like folky chords and just, you know, very simple countryish kind of chords. Or get a good Beatle book, the Beatles complete book, and just practice and learn those songs, and you'll be set for life after that.
Did you ever take any lessons?
No, I never. We were financially embarrassed at the time, so no, I don't think people really need to take lessons, because there's such a library out there of music that can teach you, from the Beatles to anything, you know, Zeppelin, to all these records. We have like a library, and that'll teach you plenty.
Okay, and Pat's with us still, and we have a question for Pat from Bianca, and she would like to know, are you a little jealous that Nuno and Gary get all the attention?
Didn't we answer this question, Bianca, or weren't you watching? No, of course, you know, these guys are, the focal point of the band is usually the singer and guitar player throughout history. You know, all bands, you know, that's always been, and plus the songwriting team for the band. So, of course, a lot of the people want to know, what makes Extreme tick. And we're happy just being the rhythm section, and we're there for every gig, and people see Extreme for the
and
four of us.
Free time.
if any one of us didn't show up for a gig, then we couldn't put it on, could we?
Of course.
So.
Well, we know that. Now, I think you're a very versatile bass player. How did you get into playing bass guitar, and what are your influences?
I'd say the first thing that attracted me to bass was Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and other guys from his era, like John Entwistle and Chris Squire from the 70s, and people who played interesting bass lines, who weren't really playing solo, but playing for the song and playing with the band. So some of the guys that are my inspiration.
I remember back in the clubs when me and Pat were younger and we were playing. I went to see Pat and he had all Billy Sheehan's wardrobe on.
That was the same days that Nuno was dressing like Yngwie. So.
That was our devil days.
Pat, do you still are you still trying to better yourself as a bass player? Do you practice or what?
Of course, everybody wants to better themselves, and I think over a period of time, how can you not better yourself by playing every day and gigging, 200 days out of the year?
Conscious effort sort of thing?
Not too conscious. I never believed in hours of practice a day.
Okay, well, I have a question for Gary. This is also from Bianca, and this is actually quite an interesting question. Bianca read in a magazine that you believe in God. She wanted to know, have you ever lost faith, and if so, how did you recover?
Oh, well, yes, I said that in the magazine. I still believe in God, and I've never lost faith, though my faith has been tested, and pretty much that's what's gotten me through some difficult parts of my life. And she sounds like a girl who's had her faith tested or has even lost faith. And all I can tell her is that, when you lose everything, the only thing you really do have is your belief and is your faith. Because if you put stock in anything else, in time it will die. But I think God and faith in God doesn't die. So I hope she gets that message, and it was a good question.
Thanks for that. And I guess you must have a tremendous faith in each other as well, as a unit, and you don't let outsiders in.
To be honest with you, we could answer a lot of the questions that we get earlier about how Pat and Paul feel about this and how I feel about whatever. It really, the only time where we don't have to talk about anything, answer any questions, and it all speaks for itself is when we're on stage together. Then there's all your Guitar Hero things can go to hell. All your more than words things, why the song is, all this marketing stuff is all garbage. The reason we're playing is that hour and a half that we get on stage and we realize why we're here. And that's when you see Pat, you see Paul, you see Gary and Nuno together and the chemistry, and that's where it happens. All the other stuff is we're just trying to survive through everything else, to get to that stage. That's all that.
We started in the trenches together before we were anything. We were playing all the clubs around Boston, and now we've come up to this level where we're getting to play all over the world to new fans. And Extreme is the one thing that all of us share. In our out of our personal lives, we all have different lives, but Extreme is the one thing that we share, and that's the thing that we believe in that got us to this point. And all we have is each other to carry on from now on. So.
Okay.
The name will always be bigger than
any one of us.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have the new video coming up from Skid Row. This is actually, we saw this last week. It's Wasted Time, which is in fact an anti-heroin song. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty tired of this whole cliche sex, drugs, rock and roll. How do you feel about that?
Well, no, actually, it's I don't think any one of us is probably going to give you a preaching kind of answer. I think you should be, you don't really need that stuff, but it's easy for me to say, you know what I mean? A lot of people have different experiences and different problems in their lives, and some people go to drinking and go to, whatever drugs to get them through it. Like Gary was just mentioning, our faith in God gets us through.
I think, the old cliche of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it's a part of rock and roll, but the thing that gets to me is that the bands that think that that's the only part of rock and roll. There's more to life than sex and drugs, and just look around you, to look at the things what's happening around the world, and it is pretty old. I think we've had examples over and over. Aerosmith, for one, has proven, to die and come back from the dead, and they've putting out some great music now, and it's just the bands that take their music seriously. That's what's going to live on. You know, the image of the drugs and the sex, that gets old. It gets old.
It's easy to be angry. You know what I mean? It's easy to be angry at the world, especially when you have problems. But it's a lot harder to do something about it. And Extreme is trying to bring that. We're entertainers, you know what I mean? We're trying to bring that back. And I think the bands that are influenced by this whole sex, drugs, rock and roll image, the bands in that era had that. That was a part of drugs, a lot more of a a general thing to do in the late '60s and '70s. It's not the '90s now. It's time for the new, and it's time to get rid of that old stuff. The songs are what live on, not what you did in your hotel room afterwards. That's all for your own pleasure. You know what I mean? But when people start bringing that, when people start bringing that into the into photos and into videos and things, saying that that's their image and blah blah blah, that's bullshit. It's what's in here. You know?
It's bull what?
Okay.
Shit.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Right. Well, coming up right now, we've got Skid Row, as I said, with Wasted Time, and watch out for the guys on tour in Europe. Great band.
Great band. Boom.
You are tuned to the Headbangers Ball, coming to you from Stockholm in Sweden with our very special guest, Extreme. And you may remember a little earlier in the show, Bianca from Belgium had some really good questions for the guys, but she also had a very special request. She wanted them to play her a song, and it's not that ballad. She wanted them to play Watching, Waiting, and apparently this song has very special meaning for her. So here you are, Bianca. This is going out especially for you.
Watching? Oh, they don't want us to do more than words,
right?
Not more than words.
Not more than words.
Thank you.
We love you, Bianca. Okay.
Watching, waiting, staring at the sun, not even knowing who you are. Watching, waiting, staring at the sun, not even knowing who you
Bianca.
Hi, welcome back to Headbangers Ball, coming to you from Stockholm in Sweden, and right now we're backstage at the venue for tonight's show, and it is time once again for the Metal Collection. And in case you don't already know, this is the part of the show where we play what you say, but in fact tonight it's our special guest Extreme choosing the videos. So starting with Paul, could you explain what video you've chosen and why?
Yeah, I'd like to see that new Aussie video, No More Tears. I like the Wet Women contest. You know,
I can relate to those tears.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Queen's new one, Show Must Go On, because they're one of the greatest bands to ever grace our planet, and the show must go on.
Absolutely. Nuno.
I'd have to go way back into the archives with a little Bon Scott and a little Jailbreak by AC/DC.
Excellent.
I'd like to see a Van Halen video with the original lineup. I'd like to see Unchained, number one.
Okay.
Myself an Oakland scarf, right?
So here we go with Extreme's Metal Collection. Woo! Okay, that was Extreme's Metal Collection, chosen by the guys themselves. And remember, if you'd like to get involved in that, all you have to do is send in your video choice to the usual Headbangers Ball address. And I'm afraid it's really now time to say goodbye.
No more dear.
But what are you guys up to now?
Well, about in an hour and a half, we're going to go and rock this place out.
Yep.
And continue on with the tour for about a week, or 2 weeks actually.
Oh, that's
go
what
to
you guys are
Japan.
going to do? Me and Pat are going.
You can take the rest of the day off. Okay. Yeah, we got Japan, and then on with the new year and on with the new record.
Excellent. Possibility of a tour with Skid Row, is that what's happening?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't think there'll be an actual tour with those guys, but I hear that we're doing a few festival shows in South America in January together.
Excellent. Okay, then, is there any message that you have for your fans out there in Europe?
They've been great so far for the two legs that we've done. We're going to miss them, and we'll be sure to be back for the next record. We love them.
And don't forget Remembrance Day. Today is Remembrance Day.
It is?
It's true.
No,
it's a holiday.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you very, very much to you guys. You've been absolutely wonderful all day with us, and it's great.
Really, I get it. You know what really burns my ass?
What?
The flame about this hat. Good night.
Okay, well, I want you to stay with me for the last half hour or so of Headbangers Ball, because coming up now we have something that is making its debut on MTV. This is our Van Halen rockumentary, which features everything you want to know about Van Halen, right up to their latest album, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, or
Funk.
F-U-C-K for short. So have a look at this. It's Van Halen rockumentary.
And may the force be with you.
I can't see any reason for